So, welcome everyone to the second BD Roundtable session that is hosted from the Middle East here in Dubai. And I'm very, very pleased to introduce you to Itzik Amiel, who I've met only a couple of months ago during the IBA Business Development Conference that he has hosted and was really, really fantastic. And I'm very proud that he's taken the time out to join us today during this event. So Itzik is a renowned networking and professional branding authority. He's the Vice Chair, Law Firm Management Committee, Business Development and Marketing Subcommittee at the International Bar Association. So you may have seen him already on one of those platforms. But he's also the author of The Attention Switch, definitely a book you need to read, and the founder of the Switch Hub, which is a collaborative online global professionals hub to connect professionals to clients and referrals. He is a true authority and a guru when it comes to networking. So again, I'm very proud to have him on board. And I should not forget to mention that Itzik started his career as a lawyer. So he truly deeply knows and understands how lawyers and fee earners operate more generally, which I think is going to be hugely helpful, especially in this conversation today as well. So welcome, Itzik, and thank you so much again for joining me at this BD Roundtable session today. I hope the intro did some justice to what you have been doing, because it's all very, very impressive. So if I've missed anything, please feel free to add.
Well, thank you very much, Barbara. Thanks for the kind introduction. I mean, it's always fine to see what people picking up, because indeed the resume is long, and that's one of the problems. Nobody knows which box to put me. So yes, for the sake of the listener, yes, I'm still a lawyer and accountant. I'm still paying my bars, and mainly because of ego, I don't practice in the sense of being a law firm. But since I serve a lot of lawyers, they tend to think, oh, he's a speaker, he's a mentor. So he doesn't know what I'm talking about. And first, I'm covering them with ego, telling them all what I did, being a managing director of 18,000 people when I was 28 years old. I was a partner. I was everywhere there. Now they would listen. Now they know I've been everywhere they want to be. And now they let me open up their heart and melt them, as I said, like a chocolate in the sun. So that's the reason I'm still paying my bar. I mean, although I was always attracted to this area of whatever you want to call it today, marketing, business development, interested in people. But Barbara, as a lawyer, I never dare sharing it. I was embarrassed of it, actually. I was embarrassed to say people, I love people. I thought, what lawyers say those things, And although I finished summa cum laude and a very good lawyer, but nobody ever asked me about it. None of my clients ever asked me, how did you finish? What is your score? Show me your resume. They didn't care. And so I knew exactly in my heart, I knew what counts for clients. And even I've asked clients, but I never dared. It took me 20 something years to go there and stand on stages around the world and talk about it. So yeah, so indeed, I'm speaking, I'm training, I'm mentoring. But actually, one of the things people do not know, also, when people make me nervous because they're lazy or busy, I even do it for them. So everything I speak today, I'll share with you today, I even do it for people. So, I mean, for me, the most important, as they saying, the proof is in the pudding. There are a lot of people who can try and talk, but how many people can do what they say? If you have the practice, so that's, I think, one of the reason thing. And of course, everything I talk about, I can talk about a lot of stuff, but I think you picked up the right subject in my career, because if you ask me what I really, really love to do, and I could do it all day long without even bothering, is networking, connecting, building relationship. The problem is, it doesn't pay the bills. and it's the problem, because it's funny, because if you look at every profession, not only legal, building relationships is important. It's the center of town. It's everything you need to build career, businesses, whatever. If you don't have connection, there's nothing you can do alone. Maybe you could read a book alone or watch a movie alone, but everything you do in business, you need other people. So you need to build relationship, learn how to build it. And the problem is, I learned it when I was a young lawyer, I remember, and I'm originally from Israel, so that's why I connection in the Middle East, I guess, although I live in the Netherlands. The thing is that, and I remember a real estate guy, CEO of a company, wanted me to introduce me to somebody. And we signed a contract, everything. It was a lot of money. Nonetheless, he knew that this person he wanted to be introduced was a friend of my parents. And for me, it's just one phone call and I arranged this meeting. And this person refused to pay. And I said, we agreed. I said, yeah, but what did you do? You just picked up the phone. I said, yeah, but for my parents, it took 40 years to build this relationship. So I knew already early in my career, people don't appreciate networking by itself. People don't pay you, although they'll come for that. You know, people go to events, they come for the knowledge, but actually what they're coming for, networking. So networking is important part. And now we're seeing it in this time we are all here, how much relationships are important for our survival. So that's in short a little bit more the backup of the story of all these nice compliments you gave me. Just to show why I love it. And it's not fake. It's from the bottom of my heart. And everything you see today is really because I really believe and like it. So.
But we must agree, Itzik, that you are pretty much, especially as a lawyer, an outlier when it comes to, really liking the whole networking thing. Because as soon as I speak to lawyers about we're organizing this conference and there's a networking element, you need to make sure that you mingle and go about. Everyone is literally like, it's yeah, it's just a rabbit looking into the headlights, and I'm like, ooh, what am I doing? What am I going to do? I don't know how this is working, etc. So I hope you agree that for the majority of the fee earners out there, I think that's the case, right? They're not very comfortable with the whole networking topic.
And
I
maybe
mean,
for the sake of the discussion, in order to help, is like the thing that I used to help, I used to hate, sorry, talking about change. That's why my company called the switch, because I don't believe things to take change. It take 20 years. You don't need a change. You need a switch. Like scientists in Germany found out that in the brain we have the on-off switch. So I ask you, Barbara, or the listener, how long does it take you to switch the light on and off? How long?
hmm,
A split of a second, right?
yeah,
But
absolutely, very
But
quick.
behind that, when you do this little movement of the switching the switch on the light, there's a mechanism, an electric mechanism, electricity, all kind of sophisticated thing that make it happen.
Yeah,
Now, it's not important for us to know how does it work, as long as the light turns on. Scientists found that also in the brain we have such a switch. We have an on-off switch, and if we tap into it, is split of a second that you could really reach between success and failure. And this is why I don't like the word change, because change, 20 years, people hate change. The same with networking. People hate the word networking. So maybe instead of networking, when I used to teach that, I said, you know what, today we're not going to speak about networking. We're going to speak about a non tiger. You know what is a non tiger standing for,
no,
Barbara?
no, tell
So
me.
it's actually an anagram. If you take networking, mix the word, you get the word unknown tiger.
Oh yeah,
So it just to lose all this negative connotation we all have about networking. And you know what, right, guys and ladies, it is right, because most people who come to networking or love networking, these are network jerks who love to push on you,
yeah,
sells you,
yeah.
annoy you. These are not networking, and I know that's why we hate that. But if you look at networking as the art of building relationship, being with people that you love, enjoying, show me one person who doesn't like it.
Yeah, it's true. But then how, I think the question is, how do you find these people, right? Amongst, especially if you are at the bigger networking event. Even I find them, I mean, I'm quite outgoing, but even I find them dreadful sometimes because you speak to people that you're like, well, you need to discover whether they're going to add anything to your network, yes or no. But how do you discover that in the first couple of minutes? Probably you will understand, like, okay, this person is maybe not really the right connection for me, for example. But then sometimes you get stuck with them. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to be make it awkward or uncomfortable. You'll be stuck with them for God knows 10, 15 minutes, a waste of time. So how do you really find out from the get-go, whether you should speak to certain people, yes or no? I mean, it's not written on their foreheads, right? I mean,
Oh, hell yeah. Hell
oh,
yeah, I'll show you how. So before even asking the question, because I think we should also ask the question, why should we network? But before that, to answer your question, I mean, here's two things many people do not know. And I'm taking the capacity of a speaker to explain it and you understand it. So first, what I said many times in the middle of the center of a networking event, whatever it is, these are the networking jerks. People who like attention, want you to see them. And you know what? Even if some of them are good people, guess what? You probably will meet them in the future because they're going to be in the center every time. So don't worry about them. What you should worry about, where do you miss the opportunities and the side?
yeah,
Because if you think about it, imagine you're a CEO of an amazing company and you really want to come to an event.
Yeah.
But if you be in the center, people recognize you, and everybody wants you to be the clients, and they're gonna bother you. But you don't want to be bothered. You just want to come and listen to whatever the knowledge sharing there, whatever, or maybe walk around. And most of the time, where they're gonna stay? In the
Yeah.
side. They're
Yeah.
gonna be in the side. They're not gonna be in the center. So you know how many opportunities I pick up on amazing people, amazing. I remember oil and gas company, a lady from Russia standing in the side, talked to our amazing connection just because I went to the side and not to the center. So
Yeah.
don't assume that people in the side are boring, or horrible, or nobody. That's first mistake. The second
Yeah.
mistake, that for your question, how do you pick up the people? This is a natural skill. We were all born with it. And here's the proof. Let's assume we're back to normal. There will be conference. We're standing in a room, but there are thousands of people in the room, not 50, not 20. Because 20, maybe you get it into this. Thousands. You're not going to be able to see all of them at the end of this 2 days conference. How do you pick it up?
Yeah.
So here what did happen. So it was found years ago that if I was coming and standing next to you and asking you, how many people do you see? And you probably will see 10, 15 people. Can you show me who they are? So most people don't store it in their mind. What they do is just pushing one way the delete button, forgetting everybody come to the eyes and start talking to everybody, hoping they meet the right people.
Yeah.
That's why it doesn't work all the time. Sometimes they meet somebody, oh wow, amazing, it works, but sometimes not. And many times they're missing the right people. They were in the room, but they didn't know they were there. But if you go to an event, again, offline, online, doesn't matter, and you let your brain relax, when you stand on the side and wait for 5 to 10 minutes, talk to nobody, stand on the side, the brain have the ability to scan all these thousands of faces. The brain will see all of the faces. Without the eyes seeing, the brain will be able to see. The
Yeah.
brain will compare each one person to all the people you have in your brain, in the library, all the people you met in your life. You do it constantly. When you're crossing the street, you see people, and your brain do like, don't like, all the time, constantly, and it's updating this library. So the brain will take all those people, comparing to all the people you have in your mind, and then show you on the silver plate. Here are the 10, 15 people you should go talk to, because most probably something good will happen out of it. Because based on all your career, that's probably your friendship, probably. And guess what? If you just learn how to store those people in your mind, like, hey, the lady with the red scarf, oh, this guy with the glasses, whatever they are, and you just go talk to them. Try it once. You'll be surprised. You'll tell me, what? That's magic. I don't get it. This person was my client, or this person was living next to me, or this person was studying. How come? Because the brain knows that. So if you don't do it, you will not see this magic, and you're not going to see the skill we were born with. And that's how within 10, 15 minutes, you go to the event, you can finish your work of networking. You met the right people, you start building relationship. Now, for me, 2 days of joy. No worries. If you meet other people, great. But there's no pressure anymore. You met the people you need to meet. So that's how simple it sounds, how simple as it is.
So do you do your homework before you go to networking events? As in, do you look up who would be there? Because if it's like 2,000 people, for example, you will never be able to remember all of those, right? And what they do, and so how do you go about that?
So actually, you're going to a very important point, which is in the heart of the problem of networking in the professional industry, and also other industry. But this is the difference between what we call, or I call, serendipity networking and planned networking.
Yeah.
And most of the people, the only way they do is serendipity networking, going to event because somebody told them along the way they have to network. That's the only place they can get clients
Yeah.
or get better job or
Yeah.
move. And then
Yeah.
go to networking, talking to everybody, meet some people, maybe send them something, and once in a while something great happen out of it. Oh wow, it works. I need to go there.
Yeah.
That's serendipity networking. And serendipity networking work. But if that's what you want in your life, don't go to networking event. A better solution for you. Go to the airport in your own country and
Yeah.
sit there all day long. You're gonna meet amazing people and guarantee you're not gonna miss. Don't go
Yeah.
to networking. Waste of time.
Yeah.
But when you go to networking, that's your question about preparation. That has to be planned serendipity or serendipity plan, whatever. But planning part of it, the intentional part of it, is so important. So if I go to a big event in our industry, take for example the annual event of the International Bar Association, which I'm helping a lot of law firms around the world prepare. If the event is October or November every year, We started preparation in January.
Yeah.
In January, I started preparing. In January, how do I know? You're asking because I know who went last year. Most probably they'll come also this year. So I have kind of the people, and I will find who they are. I start building up the portfolio. I start building the relationship. I start giving value to those people.
Yeah.
So all those months that pass, they already start getting to know me as a lawyer, for example. And when the time comes, and I'm gonna meet them first time in my lifetime, physically, it won't feel like that because we already spoke and met online for a few times. See, I
Yeah.
didn't wait for Corona to talk online. I mean, you are from the Netherlands, and Netherlands, although it's a small country, we have a lot of traffic jam.
Yeah.
So when I wanted to meet somebody in Amsterdam, from my house in Amsterdam is maybe 23 kilometers. Not a big deal, right? But in traffic jam, it can take more than an hour.
Yeah.
And until you arrive there, till you're finding a parking spot, till you get to the meeting, till you meet this person, till you go home again, that's half a day at least.
Yeah.
And why did I ask myself that this person worth this time? Not every person worth your time because your time is your biggest commodity. So again, so before Corona, I used to use Skype in that time, not Zoom, and I used to connect with people. Even in Holland, in the same country, I'm not going to go physically because I believe dearly in physical connection, but only people who deserve it. I don't want to waste my time. And I will talk and meet with them online. And once this person deserves, and we have a lot of plans, and we know, now when I go meet them, I don't mind spending the half a whole day on them because it's serious. It's building relationship.
Yeah.
And, and that's again that makes the difference when you know the difference between serendipity and intentional networking. I think because hope is not a strategy. Most of the lawyers that I know, professionals I know, building networking on hope strategies. They go to the event, meet people, puking them all the brochure, and then sitting at the office hoping one day they'll remember you and have business. Doesn't work this
This
way.
is, I think, the most common approach, unfortunately, nowadays with most of the lawyers still, that they do go to networking events. Where I say, I'm also like, I'm personally not a big fan if it's not going to, especially if it's a paid for networking event, and you don't know what the return on investment is going to be, and you haven't strategized, and you're just simply going for the sake of going, then please just stay at home. You're much better off leveraging from the people you bump into in the supermarket rather than going to that event. So yeah, I
But you know
like.
what? Even more annoying, Barbara, is the fact that because I know I'm talking to a lot of marketing business development people, the fact is that the lawyer didn't take responsibility on it.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work, they will blame you. But for God's sake, who
Yeah.
can build the relationship? You yourself. The lawyer has the responsibility to understand
Yeah.
the business development and marketing, just facilitate you, help you find the people, give you the name, organize the meeting. But at the end of the day, you're the one who should build a relationship.
Yeah.
Nobody can do that for you. And that's where the problem starts. They don't understand it. And then we'll go back to, oh, it didn't work. Oh, the people who introduced me is not the right people.
Yeah.
No, they are maybe the right characteristic there, or maybe whatever you're looking for, but maybe that's not the match. So let's see why it's not. Maybe because they have no blue eyes, maybe because they're not very kind, maybe because they're very direct, not emotional. Let's see what it fit. But they never tell you that. They just come and complain. And that's always was the problem. Every law firm I work, people complain. I always said, can you send your wife or your husband to go to work instead of you because you don't feel like it like that? No, you have to do it yourself. Relationship is something that you build yourself. You want it or not, you have to do it. And that's where the problems start. It's not in a project or something, it's something you do every day. I'm not waking up every morning, Barbara, and I said, today, between 10 and 11, I'm going to network. It's
No.
daily life. It's not the place you're going to. It's an attitude.
Yeah, an attitude, a mindset. Yeah, no, I agree with you. So now, obviously, you've just mentioned this whole sort of like, we're transitioning from offline networking to online, if you like. But you've been doing online already for a long, long time because it's obviously more efficient and probably more effective in some ways. But why do you think it's still so important, especially maybe nowadays in a digital age? Because what I see, and I think many peers amongst me will see that fee earners, they sort of like take this as an excuse not to do any networking, not to do any business development because, yeah, I mean, there's no events, right? There's no conferences. online it's all very awkward and weird. So no, 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 we're just gonna sort of like hold back on that. But why do you think this is actually so important nowadays, and how can we encourage them to actually go and do it?
So I mean, the question is definitely on time, but I think a lot of people listening knows that absolutely now people start feeling what is the power of networking when there's no events offline. That's what we used to think. Networking, you have to go to a network event. It does not exist.
Yes.
Even on those online events, not necessarily you could duplicate the same experience as offline. And something is very weird. There's no food, there's no drinks, there's no way to hide behind things. You're just actually as you are. And it is difficult when you're not authentic, because it's difficult if you are not broad on horizon, you have nothing to talk about. But at the same time, why it's important, you ask. So first, I think the most important thing to understand is, and I think I should say it first, I definitely believe in offline, in physical connection. So don't get me wrong over there. I will never preach to do it only online, never ever. I only said the hybrid will give you more efficiency when you meet physically people, and you need to spend the time you meet the right people and not everybody. So that's one thing. But why is it important? So first, because we're a social creature. I mean, again, the same scientists who I talked about before about the switch found out that is a social behavior. They did it years ago, and they found out, which is weird to say it now in time of Corona, that if you put a human being at home, doesn't go outside, no car accident, no wound, no diseases. On the other side, you send somebody outside to walk outside, risk their life, cross streets, whatever, meet people. Who do you think survived longer? No doubt that the person went out.
Yes.
So our social creature, we obliged to meet other people to have a connection if you want to live longer. That's no doubt in my heart. So it's nothing to do with business. That's first because we're human beings. So it's important for our survival. The second thing, and that's my personal opinion, those who learned with me and from me know that I believe and always believe that's the fastest way and the most joyful way to build your relationship and business. There's no fastest way than that. This is the way I found all my life my jobs. When I was 28 years old, I was managing director of 18,000 people. None of them based on any finishing school and cum laude or whatever. It was all 100% on relationships. So I mean, so I know it's the fastest way if you do it the right way, if you're authentic, if you're sincere, if you're not doing it for a reason. I always said we build relationship for a reason, season, or lifetime. I will definitely suggest you to think who you want to build relationship for lifetime. Not the people who come to build for a reason. These are interest-driven people. Or for a season, okay, those people come to your life and leave you after a while. Think about relationship as a target by itself. We build relationship, for what? For building relationship. That's it. That's the end of it. There's no other purpose behind building relationship. Yes, the spin of relationship is getting business, getting a better job, opportunities, friendship, whatever it is. These are all kind of byproducts. But when you build relationship, you build it for building relationship. That's what most people don't do. Most people build relationship for a reason.
Yeah,
Oh,
which
see, they're not coming to it's weird. It's weird. Think about it. You meet somebody who read about amazing CEO of a company. Wow, said this person, I need this person in my life. Now, how will you approach these people? What are you gonna tell them? Hey, I read the article, I want to be a friend. I think you're cuckoo. I think, what do you want from me? That's why I said all the time in the relationship, and the younger people listening to us, listen carefully. And you heard it many times said by other people and written everywhere, build it before you need it. When everybody around you are not important, maybe even student, maybe young, not egos, that's the time to build relationship. Because 20 years from now, I guarantee you there will be ministers, CEO. How do I know? Because I know my friends now in those positions. And I know them for 20, 30 years. So it's very easy for me to pick up the phone, call them, and I always experience it. And even, I can even give you another example. When I was in the time in life that I had the company I was working for sold the part, and we were kind of a year to find another job, and in between, so I got a lot of opportunities, not in the Netherlands, in Canada, in the US, in the Far East. So I was not about to move. We wanted to stay here. But I didn't say to none of them no. I just went. They paid my flights. They brought me over to the other side of the world to meet the board. But I knew one thing. The moment I go for a job interview, although I don't want to have this job, and I'm not going to tell them, but I'm building relationships. These are the people till these days will get me speaking opportunities. I train these people, open the doors. It's the same people who interviewed me so many years ago
Yeah,
because I built relationship with them during the years. I
I
didn't
think,
look at it. I never look at those opportunities as just one time because you meet a lot of us meeting amazing people. We just forget about them.
yeah, very
Now, so that's one thing. Maybe the second thing I said, said about authenticity. But here's for the introvert among us: networking is definitely the easiest tool for introvert. Those of you know, I always talk about giving attention. Introvert are the people who are easy for them to give attention more than extrovert. And again, between
yeah,
brackets,
that's true.
I am an introvert. So those of you who do not know think I'm an extrovert, I'm not. I just know communication skill and I get over that. But if you know me on a personal level, I know I'm not an extrovert person. So that's the difference. Networking is easier for introverts. So if you're introvert, it's time to celebrate. You know, and um, and there's another thing, by the way. I think you, if you're not aware of it, I always like also the science part of networking. So there's a, I don't know if you heard about something called the Dunbar number. Have you heard about that?
No, I
So
haven't.
Dunbar is a professor Dunbar.
Yeah.
I think he's from Switzerland. I'm not sure, but Dunbar found out. I wrote an article about it in the past, but he found out that online or offline, we cannot maintain more than 150 people in the same time relationship with. So that's the maximum number we can do. So if you can't look at all the people you're now in contact with, work wise, personal wise, there's not going to be more than 150 online, offline. And that's called the Dunbar number. So when you know you're limited in the amount of people that can maintain relationship, now people should understand. Now it's very important to select the people you want to maintain relationship. It cannot be kind of, you know, hoping. And that's the work networking. The selection is part of that thing. And as I said, build it before you need it. So I think that's all the reason why I think networking is important, and even more important if in our days. Maybe I should add just one thing, and I think I never used to do it in the past, but I think more and more I see the interest, and I think you asked about it as well when we prepared for that, is the fact that when I talk about networking, when we mention networking in this conversation, there are two sides of the networking. Most of us remember the external part, right? With other people out of the company, out of the industry, you know, outside people that you want to find a new job, you want to connect with them, whatever they are. And that's external networking. But many people forget, and it's especially in that time, the internal networking. The networking they have already in the firm. If you just take each one of your personnel and check who they are, who do they know, who's the neighbors, who's the founder, you'll be surprised how many opportunities you have there.
Yeah,
And that's the, I remember we had also in Holland, we had once a bookkeeper in one of the companies at work, and he's a very kind of gray person in his 50s, lived with his parents, never got married. His jacket always full with dandruff, kind of people you like to avoid and not connect. And for me, it's always kind of, I'm curious, what made this person like that?
mm,
And I used to talk to him, whatever. And one day, I didn't know, but he was the secretary of the company secretaries in the Europe. And he invited me to be a speaker in their event. And with him, I got connected to one of the biggest bookkeeping company in Holland. You probably know AFAS. And I was one of the first persons who spoke in the AFAS theater many years ago when they just opened it up. And unless I knew that they are going every year with a delegation to Israel, here's another connection. It's came only for this person. And I
yeah.
always give it as
That's
example to see how many people ignore it. It's in front of them.
yeah, and it can have some sort of snowball effect really easily, right? If you do it the right way. But
Absolutely, yeah.
what I really find interesting what you said is, that's something that I really am keen to sort of like push through and make sure that especially the younger fee earners, like the new generation, will understand that, because they usually hide behind, partners, right? When partners go out for networking, partners speak to clients, partners basically are, the face for the client, and they do all the work in that sense. But then actually, I think younger fee earners should get involved already straight from the start, because one, they will be their succession at some point, and secondly, as you say, it will take time. You can't expect to have this huge network a year or a few months before you actually become partner, for example, and you really need it. It doesn't work like that. So I think that's a really important thing to note. Obviously, is that you need to start early on.
Absolutely, and but I think also that what you said is true, but it was true for both parts of the firm. So the most senior people and the people on the bottom, because these are the most eager people.
Yeah,
Everybody else is busy and they do it beside the job and when they have time. But those who are starting are eager very much to show themselves. And if you give them the right skills, they can really get you interesting opportunities.
yeah,
And those who are very senior know everything, that very can represent very well the firm,
yeah,
and they want to still be belonging. They don't want to be dumped at home with biscuits and tea, So
yeah,
both parties are very good for networking. But I think I mean, but you see the difference, especially now when we are obliged to do also the online networking. And I don't know if that's the time to talk about it, but I think one of the things that a lot of people asking, listening to us, okay, great, we're talking about events, etc., but we are not there yet, and we're probably going to be in a different position sooner or later because we'll have this hybrid. We're not going to have purely only offline. We'll have the online and offline all the time, and we need to know when do we network, where do we network? Is it going to be in the online event or the offline event, or both? What do we do with it? So I was frustrated by myself. Although you said I'm a good networker, you're right, but I was lousy online. Many years ago, I was a very lousy online networker, which means in social networks, I mean, I'm one of the guinea pigs of LinkedIn. In 2003, we started, and I know one of the owners in France, and I was just one of the 50 people, and I really didn't do nothing there. For more than 7 years, I had it, and just because of politeness, I had people. I didn't do anything with it.
yeah,
And Facebook, yeah, I got a lot of people because I speak on big stages. I got thousands connected. Didn't do nothing with it. And although now I even dumped Facebook, but that's a different story. But I didn't do, and it's frustrating because I didn't know. They talk about social networking, and I'm very good at networking, but I'm not good there. And so we did a research together with Thomas Powers in the UK because I was very interested to know what's the difference. And we found a very interesting thing. And I think the listener will be have to write it down because you have to learn from it. There is a huge difference between be successful online and offline when you network, when you build relationship.
yeah,
When you build relationship offline, we call it CSC, and that stands for close, selective, confidential, which means in order to be very successful networking online, you cannot be open to every person come your way. I mean, come on, you cannot go in the street and say, hey man, I want to be your friend. They're going to send you to prison. They cannot do those things. You have to be close. You have to be very selective. You don't have time for everybody who knock on your door, come to your office.
yeah,
And you have to be confidential because people don't want to put it in public. They got you in this, you're a trustable person, and that's why you build relationship offline.
yeah,
But when you go online, the always is totally the opposite. The honor we call it, you have to be a lead doors, ORS at the end. And ORS stands for open, random, and supportive. To be successful in online networking, you have to be open to everybody. They're going to come randomly from everywhere, from WhatsApp, from LinkedIn, from Facebook, from whatever. They're going to call you everywhere.
yeah,
And you have to be supportive. You have to give them value. You have to show interest in them before you even know. And that's a totally different behavior that you need to adjust.
yeah,
So the fact that you're very good in networking offline does not necessarily mean you'll be automatically great in networking online.
yeah.
So that's maybe important to people to know in advance.
And which of these do you think is more effective? Would you say there is one preference in that way, or
No, definitely both. Definitely the hybrid be both are the powerful thing. Because as I
and
said before, the online for me is a selection mechanism. Because in nowadays, most probably, especially when you do international thing, most probably you will find people faster via the online network. You're probably going to start building relationship in that way. And that's, by the way, what I do. Part of my business. That's what I do. I do it for 17,000 lawyers. I do it for them. I open the network. I build relationship. So that's great. But in certain moment, one of the parties said, "Hey, let's meet." Okay, and
yeah,
that's actually what you want. You want to bring those online as soon as possible offline to meet face to face. Why? Because online suffer a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of people there, whoa, amazing people. You meet them, there's like a gray mouse, nobody interesting. So you need to know very fast if that person that carried his gorgeous beautiful resume there, if it's real.
yeah,
And only offline you'll feel. These are the things that many of us understand now when we're isolated at home, not meeting a lot of people. It's this feeling that you have when you meet somebody, you cannot put this little voice that talks to you, these energies, these. How do you define authenticity? But you see, you feel authenticity, and
Yeah.
you cannot see it online. You'll have to see it offline. Those are the powerful things. If you do it only offline, it will be good, but not good enough, because you cannot ignore the online. Because if you meet somebody, you probably automatically go online, Google them, check who they are. So you have to have both.
Yeah.
So
True.
they are living with each other.
And
And by the way, when you check on people, don't check on page 1 of Google, because that's what they want to meet, want you to know about them.
now go to
Page 23 in Google.
yeah, exactly. That's where you find out the real person, right?
I think there's a joke who said that when you bury dead body in page 23 in Google, right? So
I think that's really good and helpful, Itzik, and I think also that you know there it really depends on, as you said earlier, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert person. I think whether, for example, your EQ is very well developed, so you may find it easier to obviously network with people, to speak to people, etc. Depending on what sort of platform you would be using or you gravitate towards. But I do agree that it should be some sort of hybrid, because one can help the other and the other way around. Just I think by way of last question,
sure.
what I also find really important, but what is sometimes a struggle, I think, maybe for me sometimes and for some of my peers, is to understand, because we are very commercially minded. We have a very different mindset. We look different to the way we do business than our lawyers do more generally. So how do we make sure we are at the same page and we network with our fee earners and partners as well, in a way that we actually get from them what we want? Is it that we always have to adjust to their behavior and to how they come across, or what's your advice?
So I think actually when I teach a lot of associate how to become a rainmaker, and a lot of them, of course, not going outside, not meeting a lot, not allowed all the time to go outside to meet clients. I always say the best way to do it is to just imagine, play imaginary game with yourself that those partners you're working, helping, and supporting actually are clients, and implement on them everything you will implement later on clients. Like if for a client you will report, tell them what's going on, that's what you're going to do. If for the client you'll be super kind and everything, that's what you do. If for the client you're going to report on a weekly basis how's the project going, that's what we're going to do. So all the things you're doing for client, you practice on the partners. So if you treat the partners as clients, as they were clients, that's actually internal networking. That's where you're going to find a totally different phase of the relationship that you're not going to find if you look at it employee. Now, here's the problem. And now you understand why it doesn't work to a lot of people. Because in networking, in order to succeed in networking, it started with yourself. And many people don't think that they are valuable enough that people will go to connect with them. So we're always in the chasing mode. Oh, let's find interesting people. And when you find interesting people, you don't think, oh, wow, they're interesting as well as I'm interested. No, they think, oh, they're interesting, but I'm not like them. Why should they look at me? Why should they connect with me? You put yourself right away down.
Yeah.
Networking will never succeed in both sides. If you look down on people or you're going to look up on people, because if no reciprocity, there will
Yeah.
not going to be any real networking, authentic networking we're looking for.
Yeah.
So before you approach the partner, before you build those things as to treat them as a client, you need for yourself, not with the client, I don't care what the client, but the lawyer think about you. And they will think about you probably lower than they are. Why? Because that's the problem in law firm. But that's a different problem. We don't know what to decide now, and that's their problem. Talk about you as a business development, as a marketing. Work on your own worth. Work on your own mindset that you know that you're valuable to this lawyer in networking, building relationship, as well as they're valuable to you. Because when you come to that point, it's strange to explain because I'm not a psychological person, but psychologists will tell you that's called the maturity or the ambience awareness. This is without even noticing the brain of the other person pick that mindset from us. We don't
Yeah.
broadcasting, but probably by the body language, behavior, the words we're using, all kind of thing, it will give the sign to the other brain of the person where you are comparing to them. And this is the gap that each one of us, each one of you should work on. Because if you're not, guess what? Lawyer love that people to be lower than them. Why? Because that's a different industry. I'm part of that industry. Industry belong to a lot of egos. Don't ask me how. We don't learn it at law school, but that's the way. Because maybe because we used to be kind of like a pilot. We're earning a lot of money, so everybody is low. I don't know what it is. The reason for it. Maybe because it's very hard to be accepted to law school in many countries, and now why you are the elite. I don't believe. Never believed in it. More than that, my best friends in every law firm I ever worked were the business development, were the marketing, were the secretaries, were the receptionists. Why? Because they're not lawyers. They're not competing with me. So there was always authentic discussion. They always helped me. But many lawyers don't think this way. So forget about their way of thinking. I want to talk to yourself and think to yourself, wait a second, maybe Itzik is right. Maybe I can go network and build relationship with them because I don't think myself that I'm worth it. So
Yeah.
if you think you're worth it, and maybe even have probably more relationship you can open to them, and they'll see yourself as value to them, why shouldn't they use you? Use you in a good sense, in the sense that open the doors for them, introduce them.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to open their eyes. You don't have to tell them something you don't know. Some tell them, hey, you know this person meet. Hey, do you notice that? Hey, do you see that article? Hey, they'll pick it up yourself if they are smart people. They'll be able to see the opportunities, and if not, they'll ask you to help them do it.
Yeah.
I mean, opportunities lying around us all the time, sincerely, all the time. And with social media, I mean, with business intelligence, if you know to use it right, oh man, you can have so much information.
Yeah.
You have via LinkedIn, for example, for a lot of lawyers I help, I could find out sometimes which person, which other lawyer, could be competing lawyer, met who will they met. And if I know they met this client, there's probably going to be client there, or they were trying to pitch on them. So guess what? The only thing I have to do is position the other lawyer in front of them, and then the client have now right to opportunities. It's so much easier than in the past if you do your homework. If you don't do your homework, yeah, it's like going in the dark,
Yeah. You
and then
get
you're
get a bad
surprised.
grade, right? That's what.
Yeah, absolutely. The information is always, always, always there. And that's so wonderful now online and offline. I mean, sometimes it's too early. Sometimes, I mean, I remember being once in a meeting with a law firm and I prepared so well. So we went to the meeting and I congratulated them to hire somebody. And they look at each other like weird and said, what's going on? So apparently I found a page that I was not supposed to be seeing. It was supposed to be published 2 weeks later. So nobody was supposed to be this person moving to them. I already knew, and I was laughing because when in the army we always said a good network is somebody who know who went up or not somebody at night. So if
Yeah.
you know such details, then you're a good networker. Like I surprised you today with your colleague Barbara. I know already you work for the firm and you just joined the firm, and I know what it is.
Yeah.
That's how network it is. You have to be 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And these things are not because of curiosity or show ego. It is literally, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's literally bring you business.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little story. It's from India, and I've been once with a colleague in a meeting. And after the meeting, we discussed what made this client decide on the spot to become the client. It's a huge company. It was a board of directors. And in that time, as you know, I was the chairman of all the tax lawyers, so it was a tax issue. And we're sitting there with the CFO, the CEO, and suddenly in the middle of the meeting, the CEO phone was ringing, and he closed it. And after 5 more minutes, the phone was ringing again, but this time very weird sound. Like, I said, "Oh, that must be your wife." And he started laughing. He said, "How do you know?" I said, "I have the same." And the guy was laughing hysterically. Now, later on in the conversation, the CFO was a lady. She talks about some tax lawyer from Mauritius. And I said, yeah, I know this guy, and I know his wife is pregnant. She said, yeah, I know. And I said, yeah, but she delivered yesterday night. And the moment I said that, she was shocked. And in the same moment, she got like a message or whatever that she delivered yesterday night. And I knew it 2 steps ahead of her. And the fact that I knew, this guy probably knows. This guy is really a network. This guy is not bullshitting.
Yeah.
And that's something that I said, this knowledge that you gain via networking can get you a lot of access to a lot of opportunities, job, career,
Yeah.
client, friendship, or even who to avoid.
Well, that's important too, I think. I
Mhm.
liked what you said about treating your partners and fee earners as clients. I think that's very true. I always try to look at it, especially with my team, is to tell them, look, treat our team like we are some sort of consultancy agency, right? And we are consulting our lawyers. They come to us for advice. So you have to put yourself on that equal footing, basically, just to make sure that you get your messages across, and you get to communicate in the right way. But what more importantly, I think what you say is, it is with all of us, it's all of our responsibilities to come across confident. And that's something that is not easily done, especially with the more junior people in the team. They still look up to partners because, as you say, they've went to law school. Some of them have gone to Harvard or Oxford, and but I'm my view is, I have a really good marketing degree. Why would that be less relevant or less important than a good law degree? Why is a law degree more important or more valuable, if you like, than a marketing degree, for example? So it's just a matter of mindset. I completely agree. I think it's just building a confidence within yourself in order to be able to get what you want, but still, obviously, using respect and making sure you build a trustworthy relationship at the same time.
But it's also, there's another component that I know that many times we're forgetting, especially lawyers, we're forgetting about it, is that, if you want to build relationship there, we all know that should be at least four things before people start developing a relationship with you, or even consider buying something from you if it's a client. And these are, they have to believe in you, they have to trust you, they have to have confidence in you, they have to like you, right? So they have to have confidence, believe, trust, and like. Out of these four things, confidence, believe, trust, and like, what do you think is the most important thing?
Trust.
That's what most people think. And when I said on stage, majority of people raised their hand for trust. I said, really, imagine a lady go out at night with a guy for a date. And she comes home, everybody asks her, how was your date? She said, I don't know, I trust the guy, but I didn't like him. So it's definitely likability. And that's the problem, because trust sounds more business oriented, but trust will never appear if you don't like a person. And this likability factor is a split of a second. As I said before, if you remember, when you meet somebody for the first time, your brain will compare them to all the people you met in your life. And a split of a second tell you, do you like them or don't like them? This is the little voice that talks to you. You feel kind of itchy. So if you feel like you don't like a person, do me a favor, don't walk away from them, because that's not polite, right, Barbara? Run away from them. You don't need them in your life. If you don't try like a person, you will never ever trust. These are people after 20 years, you said to yourself, shit, why did I waste 20 years with them? Don't. Trust me. And if I was here in an auditorium, a lot of you sitting there, I will ask, who is a nice person in the room? And a lot of people raise their hand. I said, look how many nice people in this world. So find these people, it has to be joyful. If you build relationship with the wrong people, and don't try to convince me you don't get it. I mean, unless it's your parents, I cannot replace your parents, but anything else you can replace. Why? Because if you don't like your boss, you think it's wrong, move away, go away. Don't be fearful for that. You're going to be regretted. Trust me, out of my experience, you'll be regret that. Because relationship will build with people who have joy. If you have joy, sparkles will come, ideas will come, collaboration, you get more opportunities, they'll give you more responsibility, you grow faster in your career, you get more money, everything will be better. This is something you have to believe. I mean, out of experience, I'm telling you, I suffer from it for years. This is the list of telling you, don't be embarrassed to move your ass. Don't be embarrassed to go to where you want to go, because there will be somewhere, someplace, they will appreciate you. They will like you. When they like, there will be trust. And I also trust doesn't take 20 years. To all of you thinking there, trust is, again, one of the distinct human behavior. And when you build relationship with the network, you're actually giving trust in the same moment. If you're a good person, you give a moment right away. Now, 20 years, you'll justify yourself that the trust you gave this person, the moment you met them, worth it. But trust doesn't take 20 years. And I guarantee you, a lot of you had this experience when you met somebody, and after an hour you met them, take me and Barbara, we didn't meet 200 times. But after the first time, it clicked and you trust these people and you're willing to do everything with them. Why? Because that's the power of authenticity. That's the power of relationship. It doesn't take 20 years. So the sooner you be yourself, the sooner you put yourself on the table with all the things, good or bad, the sooner you attract the right people, and the rest is going to go away from you fast. That's joy.
Very true. I couldn't agree more. You will know I met my husband and we got engaged 6 months after we've met. And people told us, "Oh my God, you're crazy. What are you doing?" Especially in these times, right? You've got all the time in the world. But we're like, no, this is right. This is just sometimes you feel it. And it's just with, with business relationships, with friendships, with, as you say, obviously family you cannot replace. Um, and sometimes you may wish to, but anyway, that's a different subject. But I think in terms of, friends, colleagues, work, etc. Yes, you have the power within you to, to hold on to the people that you want to, because they add value to your life, and you've got
And you touch such a sensitive point, Barbara. I love what you give the example of personal life, because this is the problem. The problem is this dichotomy in our professional life, that, if I was asking audience, give me keyword about the professional relationship, they will tell you trust, reliability. Okay, let's shift. Let's talk about personal relationship. Now they're going to come with all the fluffy words, love and care. Why? Who said along the history of human being that when you talk about professional, see, when you start loving your client, of course, it's not the same love you love your husband, your children, your uncle, but
Yeah,
when you start loving the people the same way, it's a easy work.
yeah,
It's very easy work. I mean, how many of us listening to me are now, and to Barbara, have friends, family? How do you maintain relationship with those people? Do you have Barbara in your house on the fridge, kind of a calendar, and it says, on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock, I call this person. On Thursday, I call my mother. Do you have such a thing or no?
no,
Of
no,
course not. You don't have it. And you maintain relationship amazingly. Sometimes you're calling a friend or family, you don't really have something to talk about, but you're just calling to maintain relationship. How
yeah,
do you do that without a system? So don't tell me you don't know how to do it in business life. The problem is you make this border, break this border, and do the same thing. If
yeah,
you're not able to do it, you probably don't have relationship. If you're sitting in late at night somewhere and eating something, remember, wow, this client, I also been there, and you're not able to pick up the phone or write to this client, the same moment say, hey, I'm remembering you, you probably don't have relationship. Be careful for that, because somebody else will come there and build better relationship with this client and steal them away from you
yeah,
forever. So
yeah,
this is what I said to Laurie, and that's why I want you to listen. This is the measurement of it. It's the
yeah,
same like personal life. Like I can take my wife, you can take your husband, and other people listening to us take their loved ones, introduce them to all the friends without the fear to lose them. Why? Because you have relationships.
exactly.
Can you take your clients and introduce? I ask a lot of lawyers, can you take a client and introduce to your competitors? You cannot. Why? You're afraid they're going to steal it. Then you don't have relationship.
Yeah,
So go work
great. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
on
that's
it.
a really that's a really good point actually, and I think we could talk about this forever and ever, because I, for one, find it really, really interesting, because it also touches on some sort of psychology, how we work, but also, some sort of NLP strategy in terms of how you set your mind and wire your brain, and basically teach yourself how to do it differently. Which I hope we will do at another time, and maybe another session as well. But I think we've reached the sort of like time now. I'm sure there will be lots of questions to follow on from the recording. So will anyone who's watching this feel free to reach out to me, and I can pass the questions on to Itzik and put you in touch. You can also follow Itzik LinkedIn page as well, of course. Um, and you can go to his website and watch some of his videos. I think there's a range of videos also available on YouTube, which I find very inspiring. And definitely keep in mind that Itzik also provides training to fee earners for professional services companies, including law firms and accountancy, etc. So if you feel there is a need, then certainly do reach out to Itzik, because you can see his energy is unlimited, and he will make a lasting
People
impact.
think Barbara is the magical mushroom from Amsterdam. No, it's real people. That's exactly it. Right? And more than that, maybe to add to what you said, except for everything we just teach and speak, etc., I promise you one more thing, we can do it for them. So if they are lazy, if they are busy, they don't want to study, forget about studying. Let's do it for them together and show them how this works. When they show it work, everybody wants it. So that's maybe the easier route than just teach them, and because teaching is between people, don't have time, and
Yeah,
networking was never priority to nobody.
yeah. Well, in any event, for those connections and networking, Itzik is your go-to person. So please do feel free to reach out. Itzik, once again, many, many thanks for dedicating your time. I've truly enjoyed speaking to you. It was a really good and interesting conversation. And as I said, I would have loved that we could go on and on forever. But it was no, it was truly very inspiring, and some really good ideas that even for me I picked up, and I think, oh, I want to implement that tomorrow and speak to some people about some of the techniques. So thank you very dearly. And yeah,
Thank
with
you,
all the
Barbara.
holidays coming up, wishing you a very good festive season as well, despite Corona still being in our midst. But I hope you will do well. So thank you, Itzik.
Thank you very much, Barbara, for everybody for listening. And again, if you have any question, please feel free to reach out, because contact you do not own, you always share. So thank you, everybody.
Very good. Thank you.